Well, good afternoon, everyone. As you already know, we invoked cloture on the clean CR last night, 77 to 19. We had two members absent who would have voted for it. It would have been 79 to 19. Either very late tonight or first thing in the morning, we'll be sending that over to the House, where I'm optimistic that it will pass. This is a good time to talk again about how we ended up where we are. You know, the Senate passed a budget, which hadn't happened in 4 of the last 5 years. We marked up all the appropriation bills, reported them out of committee, which hadn't happened in, I think, 6 years. And then our Democratic friends, because they objected to the spending level in the budget, prevented us from going to any of the appropriation bills, thereby forcing a negotiation, in effect, that will occur over the next couple of months. It's really not the way we ought to run things around here. And I hope that we, in the fall negotiation, can get some kind of an agreement on a top line for next year so we can finally, at long last, get back to acting on each appropriation bill separately. It's not the way to do business, and for the Senate minority to put us in this position again was very regretful, frankly. I think it's not the way we ought to be doing business. So the way forward is that we'll give our Democratic friends an opportunity to vote again on the appropriation bills that many of them supported in committee. They even sent out press releases bragging about the appropriation bills that they're now not letting us to proceed to. We'll give them an opportunity to maybe have a second thought about that and consider other appropriation bills like the Milk on VA bill, for example. Other items we'll turn to. The Defense Authorization Bill Conference Report, we understand, is close to final, if not final. Obviously, we'll want to pass that quickly and get that on down to the President. With that, let me turn to Senator Cornyn.
You are aware of the Planned Parenthood videos that's provoked such a terrific emotional and moral revulsion here on Capitol Hill and across the country. The House has done what it can do to deal with this issue, passed the pain-capable bill, which we took up in the Senate, which was filibustered by our colleagues. But there are some who would have you believe that what we are doing on the continuing resolution is the end of the pro-life agenda from Republicans, and that's not the case. I assure you we're going to continue to take up and challenge our Democratic colleagues and the President to recognize that the United States needs to join the vast majority of developed nations in eliminating late-term abortions after the viability of an unborn baby. Many states have done that, including my state, the state of Texas. Many states have taken money that otherwise would go to Planned Parenthood and transfer it for women's health issues to community health centers or the like. There are going to be additional votes, even consideration of by using budget reconciliation, which, as you know, would only require 51 votes in the United States Senate. So this debate over the life issues is not going to end with the passage of this clean continuing resolution. It will continue.
There's been a lot in the news about Vladimir Putin's increased activities in the Middle East. This past weekend he said he was not a gangster. Well, he certainly is a thug, and he is a bully, and he uses energy. He uses energy to hold many nations hostage, who are held hostage to the high cost that he is able to charge them. President Obama has an opportunity to do something about that by eliminating the ban on the United States exporting crude oil. By keeping the crude oil ban in place, the President hurts our own economy, makes it harder for us, for jobs, and the economy. Now, this past week, General Petraeus was in Congress, and he testified that Vladimir Putin is ultimately going to run out of money. And we can help that process along by putting energy supplies from the United States on the market, selling it to our friends around the world who want to buy that. That gives them a better opportunity to buy cheaper oil and not be held hostage by Putin. There are many weapons that you can use in this world, and I think you can be just as effective with a barrel of oil as you can with the barrel of a gun. Energy is called the master resource for a reason. The United States has abundant amounts of energy. We should be using those, and it's time for President Obama to give an opportunity for us to export and sell our energy overseas. He's given the same opportunity to Iran as he lifts sanctions as a result of the Iran nuclear deal.
Well, I think everyone is relieved that we're keeping the government open. Let me make 2 points about the appropriations process this year. As Leader McConnell said, we passed a tough budget resolution. It set very strict appropriation caps for all 12 of our subcommittees. Unfortunately, we're not able to bring those separately to the floor because Democrats are insisting on a 60-vote threshold to even consider those. But please understand, and Americans should understand, that in all of those 12 appropriation bills that have been reported out of the Appropriations Committee, we meet the budget caps in every single instance. In other words, we do not exceed the caps on spending that we imposed in this very tough budget resolution. Also, Americans should know, in terms of fighting what we believe is the egregious executive overreach of this administration. The 12 individual appropriation bills contain rider after rider after rider in a strong statement that we intend to rein in what we view as the illegal, actually, overreach of the administration in many of those areas. Now, unfortunately, we won't get to those until October at the earliest. I hope we can save as many of those riders in the negotiation process that's going to go forward. But please realize that in terms of the budget caps on all the appropriation areas, we are under the caps in every one of those instances.
Senator McConnell, when do you think you're going to sit down with President Obama and maybe the Democratic leaders to negotiate that top-line number? And are you looking for something for fiscal year 2016 and 2017?
Yeah, we'd like to settle the top line for both years so that next year we could have a regular appropriations process. The President and Speaker Boehner and I spoke about getting started in the discussions last week, and I would expect them to start very soon.
Leader McConnell.
The World Trade Center Health Program is set to expire. The authorization for that program is set to expire at the end of the month. You said on the 16th that you do plan to extend the program. Are you going to let that program authorization lapse, or are you going to extend it before the deadline at the end of the month?
Yeah, I'll have to check on that and get back to you.
Leader McConnell. Last night on the Senate floor, Senator Cruz was very critical of your leadership. He said you spend a lot of energy attacking conservatives and that you're taking a page out of Hillary's playbook. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, I tried very hard to stay out of the presidential race, and I think that's probably a good rule for me, and I think I'll continue that. Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm not going to give any advice to the House. Occasionally they like to give us advice. I'm not going to give any advice to the House about how to settle their various leadership questions. I do know Kevin. We have a good relationship, and obviously I and the folks behind me will be working with whatever team the House ultimately selects.
Given that Boehner is leaving in a month, are there particular things that you really hope Congress finishes before makes the debt ceiling increase one of them?
Yeah, we're going to have to deal with all of these issues between now and December the 11th. How much of that could come together before Speaker Boehner leaves, I have no earthly idea. But we have a number of different things that need to be addressed, and the deadline is December the 11th. Thanks, everybody.